This is just some further experimentation with these labels. And it was suggested that you could add this, you could add code in with this tutorial.rb file, because this tutorial.rb file was run every time you started Chief. I would prefer that this be at the plan control and not at, the Chief startup. It'd give you a lot more control over it, but this does seem to work. And so I've just done a little bit more experimentation here, so let's look at a couple of these things. This text box here just shows what's in the label of this. And you'll notice it's in millimeters. So what I did was I just stuck all this in there. I set the units to millimeters. I turned off using fractions. I applied the formatting to the parameter. And then I reset the units back to feet and inches, but I did not reset the formatting, units back to feet and inches. So that basically resets what I did over here. And in here, I've got x equals, so I formatted this parameter and I assigned it to x, and then out here on the end I've got an x, because the way Ruby in Chief works, it's going to take the last value that it sees. And if you don't have this x out here, what you get is this units stuff right here. So, and this I rounded. I didn't add that in up here, but this is rounded, so it's hard to see. But this perimeter has got a round on the end of it. Okay, so that sets all this for this label right here. Well, let's look up here. This is just what I had. Same thing I had on the previous video. 4 elevations. So this is what I've got in 4 elevations. I've set fractions equal true, and I've applied the formatting to room 4 elevation. And so you'll see I get fractions, I get the correct formatting, but down here I don't. So this is just I'm just applying the formatting is all I'm doing there. And also you'll notice this is really strange. If you select this, you get millimeters and you get fractions. And now if I zoom in, depending on the zoom, I get decimals instead of fractions. So I'm not too sure how all this works, how it's implemented. So I've got another plan over here, and this is what the FI. This is what it's showing in this plan. So units are set in millimeters, even though over here I set them to millimeters here, but up here they're not showing in millimeters. They're not showing in millimeters down here, and they're not showing in millimeters in other places. So this is just, I just applied the formatting. Now you get millimeters. Down here, I created a new number formatter. I just call this one X. And so you can fill all that stuff in the label, and it works like that. This one, I did a shortcut. This one has FF right here, and that FF is created in this macro. It's set to evaluate, but this macro was never used anywhere. And this is just a shortcut, right? That's all this is intended to do. It takes a number, in this case a measurement, as a parameter, applies the formatting, and then exits. So all that does is, instead of having to write, fi.apply, you can just write FF. And this, can be anything. It could be F for format. It'd be great if Chief would weigh in on this and explain a little more how this is implemented within Chief and what we can expect. My initial thing is what I showed in the first video, is just to make it as simple as possible. Create this number formatter and just use it wherever you needed it without changing anything, because I think that's what most people want. One thing that you can do in this case, one thing you can do really easy is do things like rounding. You could stick a round on there, and now that gets rounded, and that way it's all self-contained. Anyway, just something to think about. Not any suggestions. Just experimenting.